Please welcome Dr. Jean Duckworth.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for asking me to come and talk about my course. But before I start, I want to pay tribute to a number of people. The first is our students. Without them, none of this would be possible. And also, in doing this, we have a course team. I'm only one person out of the course team. The other members are Kate Chatfield, Hazel Partington, Ian Townsend. And they have made equal contributions towards the development of this course. We have an MSc in homeopathy, but that's not where we started. And as Stephen said yesterday, there was a rise in the provision or in CAM therapies in the United Kingdom in the 1980s and the 1990s. And along with this, there were more and more practitioners that were training in order to meet the demand. But with this came the possibility for courses to go into the universities. And in 1998, the London College of Classical Homeopathy set up a partnership with the University of Westminster. And I think Charlotte said that she'd gone there. And this was the very first time that we had homeopathy being available in a university. We followed shortly in collaboration with the London College of Classical Homeopathy in 1999. And we offered a 3-year Bachelor of Science honours degree in homeopathic medicine. And our course, we were talking to Stephen last night, and our course has links to the one that he studied, the very first homeopathy college. Following on from our courses, it was Thames Valley University with Purton House, and then the University of Middlesex. And of these, only the University of Middlesex still exists as a BSc honours. And what I'm going to tell you today is about, was a story. I like stories. It's the ups and downs that we've experienced. Because in parallel with the growth of CAM, the skeptic movement was also gaining ground. And as has been alluded to here already, skeptic activity is included, attacks on the NHS provision of homeopathy, letter writing to the Advertising Standards Agency, mass overdoses of homeopathic remedies. But also the skeptics, they embarked on a press campaign. They labelled alternative medicine degrees as being anti-scientific and much more like religion than science. And all the universities that were offering CAM courses at that time came under attack. And we were asked on a number of occasions to provide details of what we were teaching under the Freedom of Information Act. Unlike a private college, as a public institution, we have to provide details. And that meant for us, I think it was, reams and reams of course materials that we had to send each time. But it's interesting that there were all these attacks, but it's not possible to establish if those attacks actually had any effect on the provision of these CAM courses. Because there was a number of other things going on at the time. In the United Kingdom, if you already had a degree, the government would no longer provide funding for another degree. So those people were excluded from our courses. And we know from previous research that homeopaths, on the whole, are a really well-educated bunch of people. They often come to homeopathy with other careers. They've often got other degrees. And that's meant they were automatically precluded from our course. At the same time, we started to increase the fees. And the standard fee now for a university undergraduate course is £9,000 a year. People were put in a very difficult situation here because if they go on to do a course, to do our course, it was full-time, which meant that you'd have to give up work in order to do it. But you couldn't find the funding. Whereas you can go to a private college, of whom there are very good private colleges, but you could pay £2,000 or £3,000 a year, do it part-time, and continue to work. So it meant many people were, their choice was made for them. They had to do the private courses. Also, at the same time, the government decided to reduce the number of places that were available at universities. And we found that a number of courses, particularly the ones that also provided a clinical training or bench time, meant that these were more expensive courses for universities to provide. So these courses were being capped in favour of courses such as English literature, courses that just had lecture theatre time, not bench time or clinical education. At the same time, we had the recession. People were making difficult choices about how to spend their money. And why would you want to go into a profession where you're self-employed and there was no guaranteed income? So, if you take all that combination together, it made it very difficult for people to come and choose to do our course. But at the same time, the course team, we'd been teaching the undergraduate course since 1999. And we wanted to expand our own horizons. So the university, at the same time, decided, as we were wanting to expand our horizons, that they were not going to offer any further undergraduate CAM courses until the disciplines had achieved statutory regulation in the UK. So the BSc Hons in homeopathic medicine finished in 2007, and herbal medicine and complementary medicine were closed in 2008. And it was quite a hard time for us, the closure of something that we'd worked so hard to achieve. But that wasn't the end of the story. UCLan is the 6th largest university in the United Kingdom. And it has a huge provision of courses. It now has medicine, dentistry, physiotherapy, pharmacy, nursing, sports therapy. So it has a huge portfolio, architecture, alongside maths, physics, chemistry, and all of those. But what we noticed and what we wanted to do was we saw that nobody was really offering postgraduate education for homeopaths. And we felt that that was the next stage. We had lots and lots of people that were educated now to degree level. And that degree level was either in the private colleges or universities. So we took the decision, and the university agreed with us that we could, to offer an MSc in homeopathy. But what was unusual at the time was we decided that there was no way that we could offer an MSc in homeopathy where we expected people to come to Preston. We couldn't get people to come to us, so we decided we had to go out to everyone else. So this course that we decided to put on is entirely by e-learning. Now, when we say distance courses, a distance course doesn't have to be a remote course. A distance course, we took the decision that we didn't want to just provide materials, people read them, answer a few questions. For us, people are important. And so what we did was we set up a virtual classroom. So everybody, all our students, actually attend university. We meet every week. We don't have traditional lectures, but we have traditional seminars. And those seminars are where we all get together in groups of about 12, online, in a classroom, and talk. So we can see each other, we can see each other's faces, we can hear each other. And that was the important bit for us. We didn't want remote courses. So we enrolled our first students in 2006. It was exciting times. And, we're all together. None of us quite knew what to expect. And we pretty much learned quite a lot as we went along. And the MSc attracted practitioners from across the world who wanted to expand their knowledge and skills. But what was also important to us was not to set ourselves up as experts. So we weren't following we were experts, students weren't. We recognize that everybody on the course is an expert in their own right. And what we're doing is providing facilitating a space where we can all learn, which is fantastic for the course team because we are constantly, it's CPD every week. For us, we're constantly exposed to new ideas, people coming up with new ways of thinking. And everybody on the course has a real quest and a thirst for knowledge and for learning more. So what we don't do is say, right, this is homeopathy, this is how it's practiced. The students are exposed to things like the philosophy of science. So the first day you're on the course, meet in a classroom, deconstructing practice. So, it's scary because what we do, and I make no apologies for it, is we pull the rug from under people's feet. We dismantle many things about homeopathy. I know. He's not doing it. Okay. But don't worry, the next module is developing practice, so we put it all together again. So we don't leave you in the air saying we've dismantled your practice. We're not doing anything else about it. There's a mechanism by which, with critical thinking, everything comes back together and coalesces into a firmer and a more personal expert view of homeopathy. And so to realize sometimes that the things that you've been taught or the things the students have been taught aren't quite as certain as they thought, it's scary. But we also, on the course, share our experiences about reflective practice, the therapeutic relationship, education in homeopathy. And so I think, you only have to look here as well. There's a number of people that have done the course and who are presenting their ideas. And I think you'll agree with me that the presentations by people who've once been students have been fantastic. And we can't take credit for their presentations, but I think it's a sign of an online community of learners that have really gone forward and explored and shared their ideas. But we've also recently added integrated health and herbal medicine courses as well. But there are advantages to both the individual and the profession, I believe, of having a body of workers educated either to level 7, MSc, or to level 8, which is PhD. Arguably, study at master's level might have the potential to enrich professionalism and build capacity in the profession and foster critical awareness. So graduates of master's degrees, and this is the Bologna Agreement and the markers say, should be capable of demonstrating highly specialised knowledge, some of which is at the forefront of their discipline, field of study or professional practice. Their knowledge is the basis for original thinking and for research, and they should take responsibility for contributing to professional knowledge and practice. When we validated this, someone commented on the panel, isn't there a danger that if you look at the epistemology of homeopathy so closely and at such a level, is there not a danger that people would give up? And in fact, the reverse is true. So the aims of our course are to develop practitioners who can function at an advanced level of practice and provide leadership in the strategic planning, development and evaluation of education and research. So students are expected to work at a high analytical level and are asked to critically question their assumptions, and they are expected to immerse themselves in topics that might be outside their normal experience, such as philosophy, research, reflective practice. And as I said before, it takes courage to critically examine the knowledge base and foundations of homeopathy, but we try to do it in a constructive manner, and we're constantly seeking ways of developing knowledge and practice. So, by now you'll have found out that I like to find out the experience of people who've gone through any phenomena. And feedback from students does allow us to describe some of the implications. Okay. Studying for the MSc this is what they've said, have been a hugely empowering and enriching experience. The critical evaluation of my practice and my teaching gave much greater clarity around what I do in my practice and my teaching. This clarity has enabled me to practice and teach in a more conscious, more focused and effective manner. I am certain that my understanding of homeopathy as both art and science has increased dramatically as a result of my studies, and that I'm more effective. Learning about the philosophy of science, understanding of research, and learning how to write scientific papers has helped me tremendously in my ability to answer critics, in my pursuit of clinical and theoretical research, and in writing research papers and texts. Okay. It shifts perspectives. As a person who dedicated her last 20 years mainly to clinical work, I am now able and most willing to judge homeopathy from a more scientific point of view. I finally gained the knowledge to undergo scientific research in this area, which is urgently needed for the sake of homeopathy in the future. Okay. And then you start thinking, well, so what? Why should I do it? Why do people do it? And the fact is that people go on to use it within in other jobs. I got a full-time job at a university as a researcher for a few months after finalising my homeopathy studies, and carried out an 18-month research project, as well as serving as scientific coordinator for an international research team. Another one has become an e-learning advisor for a college. So, the people who have gone into this have gained a confidence that have allowed them to move into other areas and to take up jobs as lecturers, to take up jobs in fields such as scientific coordinator. So, what next? Not that we are megalomaniacs, but we're starting a professional doctorate. And we believe that that is a next logical stage for homeopaths who want to expand their studies. And so the professional doctorate will include, as a first stage, the master's or 2 years of the master's, and then go on to do an extended research study. Now, the research studies that will take place in a PhD might be more clinically focused, because when you do them for an MSc, the scale of them means that you're learning your research, and so it tends to be small-scale studies, non-intervention studies. So, when you do a professional doctorate, the scope is wider. So really, that we have been through ups and downs, as I said, with the education, particularly within an institute within the United Kingdom, where there has been a great deal of criticism that we exist there. But, we have survived, and I think, the courses are getting stronger and stronger. So, that's really all that I wanted to say about the course, because, I am up here. It does feel like an advertorial in a way, and I don't mean it to be. So, if you do have any questions about why courses should be at universities, the biggest one is actually that it's about intellectual freedoms. A university should be the place where people are free to learn and to discuss all types of things away from political interference. And we should not be interfered with by politics, by other interest groups. It's somewhere where tolerance should be practiced and new ideas should come forward. So that's all I really want to say. So thank you for listening.
Thank you ever so much, Jean. So you've been going now since 2006. Yep. And tell me, what's the difference between a professional doctorate and a PhD?
It depends on who you talk to.
Okay.
A professional doctorate is a relatively new thing, and it recognises the practitioner element to a greater extent, I believe, than a PhD. But it does also include taught elements within the course. If you're going to do a PhD, you have a proposal, and you spend the next 5 to 7 years studying your topic in depth. Whereas for a professional doctorate, you often spend the first 2 years, and those could be learning research methods, it could be the first part of an MSc, and then where you would normally change from MPhil to PhD, you'd change from MSc to PhD or professional doctorate.
Okay.
So, if you are a practitioner, they are thought to be often more relevant if you want to explore clinical questions.
Thank you. Questions here for... Okay.
Oh, and we have fun, by the way. Don't forget that.
Yeah, that was my question. What is the cost? And is it full-time studies or is it part-time studies?
It's part-time study, 1 day a week.
1 day a week,
yes. And the cost at the moment is £630 a module, and there are 9 modules in the course.
190.
£630, yes.
Questions?
About 6,300 krona per module. 9. Sorry? We think it's about, going on from that, about £2,000 a year. But we haven't had a definitive answer on that yet.
That was the price for a doctorate. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Time-wise, for the doctorate, after the first 2 years, would be about 3 years. So the total length of time, if you want to do the MSc and then top up with the professional doctorate, will be the same length of time as doing a PhD. 1 day a week. Although our experience suggests that people do it in, bursts, and then nothing for a while, and then another burst of activity. A bit like probably when you did it.
Questions?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. And do you have to have a bachelor in science to go to the master's class, or
No.
is
you
any
have
bachelor?
It's
Okay.
any bachelor or its equivalent.
Okay.
And a 3 or 4 year homeopathy qualification is deemed to be equivalent.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions?
If anybody does have any questions after and they do want to ask me, I can be contacted. Birgitta could give it out, or it's J.E. Duckworth at UCLan, which is UCLan.ac.uk.
We also have some information about Lancashire on our website, the school's website. So please approach Jean afterwards if you're interested for more information, and maybe we can give them a card. Yeah. Any questions? Jean, thank you very much.